need help with. Thank you, Weston. Thank you, Sam. You can hear me, Priscilla, right?
Yes.
Okay. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. And I want to know, for you just came in, you and Landon both came in. Is there anything in particular we want to cover for on your stuff, just your stuff in general? Just let me know. You can pop it in the chat if you need to, okay? Good morning, Brandon. Okay, guys, let me start my little timer. I always have a timer so I don't go over anything, okay? So next Friday, October 4th, is our last day of class. Everything has to be done by then. So what you've seen this week is I've opened whatever was for this week, and next week's material has already been opened, which I know that's a lot because for this week, there were 2 exam number 3s. So I just want to tell you more about them in detail. Also, project number 3 was due on Monday. I think most of you turned it in. So the exam 3 is in 2 separate exams. The first one is multiple choice. It is straightforward. There are 10 questions from each of the 4 chapters, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And so there's 40 questions worth 2 points each. That's 80 points. You can take that exam twice. Hold on. Landon, I got you in here twice. Landon, you're in here duplicate on my screen, okay? Okay. There we go. Okay, you can take that exam twice, but there is a timer of 2.5 hours. So you're going to see the same questions the second time. If you like your first score, do not take it again. It doesn't make sense. If you do take it a second time, the questions will be mixed up. They won't be in the same order. The multiple choice answers will be mixed up. So don't just think it's going to be like 1A, 2B, whatever. It's not going to happen that way. Okay. But with 2.5 hours times to take it, there's a good possibility that you'll be able to get through some of the questions on that. So that's one part of exam number 3. And remember, exams do not carry extremely a lot of weight in this class. It's really been about the homework. So just keep that in mind. The other part of exam number 3 is called short answer. And there are 8 questions. They're like homework questions, except you don't have a check my work. There are 8 questions. There are 2 from each of the 4 chapters, 8, 9, 10, and 11, that ask you to do something, ask you to calculate something, or maybe do a journal entry. They are worth 5 points each. And yes, that's a separate test. So you can take that twice. And it does have its own timer of 2.5 hours on it too. Okay. So if you take it the second time, there's only 8 questions. They're going to be the same 8 questions. it's not a matter of mixing them up that because they're not multiple choice, but they're going to ask you the same things. Those exams are due on Saturday. I see one person already took one of the exams today. At this point, if there's a problem, you need to reach out to me on Saturday night. But hopefully you don't let there be a problem. Questions about exams. Not exams, but when there's a deadline to turn in the tutor and extra credit, somebody asked. Great question. I need everything done. I need it done by Friday, the 4th, because that's the last day of class. And I typically try to get my stuff, and that's next weekend, not this weekend, a week from tomorrow. And when I do, I'll come back to that. Whoever asked me that question, I'll come back to that and talk about next week, okay? So let me finish about this week. So also chapter 13. Now it's due tonight and it's very short. There's only 3 questions. I was going to talk about it, but I will go on and extend that till Saturday night to be done for chapter 13. Okay, I am going to talk 10 minutes about it tonight. Today. I do not have lecture videos for it, but let me tell you how easy. Yeah, I know I say they're all easy. I'll explain as I'm talking about it. So I'll talk about that when I finish telling everything that we're doing for the rest of the semester here. I'm going to come back to that. But bottom line is I will move the deadline to Saturday night since it is listed as tonight. Let's see. Then there's quiz number 7, which is only from chapter 13, and that's due on Sunday. And then also project number 4 started, which is due October 4th. This week is the last discussion board. Okay, so week 7, we have 8 weeks. Next week is our 8th week, but it's not a complete week. But so we have our last discussion board today. Okay, I mean this week. Okay, next week. So you're working on project number 4 and the final exam. Let me talk about the final exam. It is already opened. I'm pretty sure it is because I make sure that I open it early enough to give you guys plenty of time. Unfortunately, it is comprehensive. That means chapters 1 through 13. On the test, there are 50 multiple choice questions. So think about it. If I have 50 questions and I have 13 chapters, if you do the math, there can only be about 3.5 questions per each chapter. So I picked out the most important parts of each chapter to ask a question on. So I only have one test bank when I make quizzes or exams. So your best bet to study is I do have a study guide available up there. And I took it straight from the actual exam. In other words, I went through the exam and wrote down what you needed to know based upon what questions are in there. Okay, so if you go through the final exam study guide and you know how to journalize when you're doing payroll, or you know how to journalize when somebody pays you for something, that means there's a question on that exam about that. Okay. Since I can't see any of your guys' pictures, I don't know if you're hearing me, but everything's good so far. You're hearing me okay? Thank you. I got a thumbs up. Okay, now that's not all on the final exam. There are 5 short answers. They're worth 10 points each. They're just very similar to this exam 3 that you're getting ready to take. Up until now, you've only had multiple choice questions on an exam. But when you have something like you may have to do a journal entry or you may have to calculate something, it's not gonna give you partial credit. It's not gonna have a check my work. Okay, so you don't know if it's right or wrong till you submit it, and yes, you can do it twice. So I actually tell you in the study guide what 5 chapters and what concepts are those short answer questions about. Okay, so And then unfortunately, with that many multiple choice questions and 5 short answers, you still have, I think it's 2.5 or maybe 3 hours, I'm not sure. You still have a long time. But here's what I would highly suggest. Go through your multiple choice questions. And by the way, this is for the final exam, taking it. Go through them at a very fast pace, answer what you absolutely know, then go do the short answers because those 5 questions are worth 50 points. So you want to get that concept first. And then go back through and go back to the multiple choice ones that you bypassed because you didn't know or you had to look them up or something. That's probably the best way to do that. Okay. But remember, um, your grade is kind of set based upon your homework. So that's the final exam. That is due Friday, October 4th. I cannot give any extensions. The project number 4 is due Friday night, also on October 4th. And I have a lot of classes that I run, and I'm very well organized. I think I am anyway. So I can guarantee you that by Monday, your grades will be posted in WebAdvisor because I like to go in over the weekend and finish grading. And what will happen is I will put a column in your grade book in Canvas that says final letter grade. And I'll put a letter in there when I'm finished with your grades, and that'll be the grade that you're actually going to be submitted on your behalf. That's why I need all of the tutoring no later than Friday night. Just sent to me, email copy. If you went there and they gave you a paper in person, just scan it and send it to me. If you did online and you got an email copy confirmation, just forward that to me. Make sure that I get it. So when I do put a letter grade column in Canvas for you that says, here's what your grade is going to be, I'll send a message out to everybody to say, check it. Check your grades on Canvas to make sure I didn't miss anything. That's the first thing, because if I didn't get your extra credit, you want to call me right away and say, hey, I sent it and here it is, blah, blah, blah. So, but I always give you time to look to see what grade you're going to get, and then I get it posted 24 hours after that. Questions about next week and what's due next week? I'll wait for somebody if you have any questions. Besides, you have my phone number. Just pick up the phone and call me if you want. So next Thursday, we're not even going to be on a Zoom call. I mean, it doesn't make sense because the only thing you're working is you're doing the final exam on the project at that point. So there's really not a lot to talk about. Yeah, thank you, Weston. It is straightforward, okay? I try to be that way. So, exam 3 due Saturday. I will move chapter 13 to Saturday. In a few minutes, I'm going to pull up chapter 13 PowerPoint, and I'm going to tell you the important portions of it that have to do with the homework. Oh, and by the way, chapter 13 is on the final exam, but there are only 3 questions. And on the final exam study guide, it tells you very specifically what things you need to know. So when I talk about chapter 13 today, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Okay. Hold on one second. I've got to get my screens ready to show you. I'm also going to show you the final exam study guide because I'm sure that you haven't looked at it yet. I'm sure nobody's looked at it yet. Give me a second, guys. If I don't have everything up and open when I'm ready to show it to you, I won't be able to do that. I just have way too many things open on my screen. Okay, hold on, let me check this chat. Yes, so somebody asked me, is it being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded right now. And I will post it back up right underneath the link. Matter of fact, I'll remove the link later today and I will post it there saying recorded Zoom link from this class. So thank you for asking that. If anybody has to leave, it's not, it's not mandatory. So I'm going to go over the final exam study guide. Okay, I know that you guys can all see this. Somebody just give me a thumbs up if you see this on your screen. I don't want to make any assumptions. Okay, so here's the final exam study guide. Remember, I took this straight from the actual test. So I know it looks like a lot. It's sorted by topics, not by chapters, but it was based upon a question. So each one of these, how to determine retained earnings from an adjusted trial balance. That means there's a question on the final exam about doing that. Okay. Each one of these, there's an actual question about this. That's why I made a note of it. Okay. And again, I have it by categories, not by chapters. Here's cash flow. This is what chapter 13 is about. Okay. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute. I'm going to actually lecture about chapter 13. Hold on, guys. When I'm sharing, it's hard for me to pull up the chat. Brandon, can you, okay, first of all, before you guys leave, if you have questions on a one-on-one basis, you want to stay on when I say when I'm done and tell everybody they can leave, stay on and I can have that conversation with you, Brandon, okay? Just FYI. Okay, so this is chapter 13, cash flow. Okay, it's nothing more than actually measuring cash coming in, cash going out. And there's 3 different types of activities. And when I talk about the lecture in about 10 minutes, for about 10 minutes today, I'll tell you what kind of questions you can expect to see, so you know how to study for it. So here's payroll. Again, it's how to calculate certain things. Yes, there's a lot of concepts, but there's one for every single question. Here are the short answers. I tell you very specifically how to journalize a bond issuance at a premium or a discount. So you actually have to do a journal entry for this. How to calculate payroll from payroll tax data. That means you actually have to either calculate take home and taxes or that. I didn't say journalize, so it's not a journal entry. I'm going to tell you that right now. Journalize entries when you sell stock. Journalize entries for write-off in accounts receivable. That's a chapter 8 question right there. Journalize closing entries. That's a chapter 4 question. So these are my short answers and they're 10 points each. So that's really 1/3 of the final is really on this. So you want to make sure that you do this. You do these short answers. If you run out of time, you want to get those done as quick as possible. Matter of fact, you might want to do those before you do the multiple choice. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Okay. And you will find this in Canvas under this week. Okay. Any questions before I stop sharing? Okay. Yeah, so that you'll find that there. Take a look at it. Okay. Let's see. Let's talk about chapter 13. Okay. Let me pull up my PowerPoint wherever it is. Hold on, let me find it. Okay. So let me just we're not going through the whole thing. I'm going to give you the elevator pitch version, is what I call it. That's a 2-minute. Actually, this will be 10 minutes. Chapter 13 is about cash flow. Okay. You don't have to, I'm just going to quickly tell you, cash flow is measuring nothing more than the cash coming into the business, the cash going out. And it's broken down in 2 different ways. Okay. And hang on, I'll get to those in a minute. Here's some example. And the reason this is important is because I need cash. I need to know that I have enough money to pay my employees. I need to know I have enough money coming in to pay my bills. I need to know all of this information. That's why cash flow is really important. It is also the one part of businesses that people just truly do not understand. But think about it. I don't know about you guys, but I have a budget, well, sort of a budget because I work at 5 different colleges. So I have a spreadsheet that shows me how much money I have coming in each month to know that I have enough money each month to pay my bills. Because sometimes I may not teach a class, maybe in the summer I teach less classes. So if I don't have that much money coming in that month, I need to know that ahead of time so that on the months that I have more money, that money's set aside to take care of it. So it's kind of like that, and it's from a business perspective. Is will I have enough money to pay what I have to pay? That's really what it's about. Um, here are the here are the three major concepts. These are the three major concepts. I look at three different things. I look at what we call operating activity. Operating activity is considered the day-to-day activities in a business, which would be buying product, selling product, paying bills, providing services to customers, and billing them. It would involve your accounts receivable, your accounts payable, your inventory, your supplies. It would be all of those things. Those operating activities are my day to day. Then I have investing activities. Second. Okay. So investing activities aren't really what you might think they are. Okay. But they're basically things that would affect my investment. Okay. And we'll talk about that. And then the last one is called financing activities. So everything that happens, any money, I put it in one of these three categories. And you notice that I said there would be an operating activity, an investing activity, and a financing activity question on the final exam. So there will be only 3 questions, one for each of these categories. And let me show you what that all means. So the whole thing about cash flows is that, I have the cash ledger account. We know what that is, the cash ledger account. And so what the cash ledger account says, look, at the beginning of the month, my cash ledger account was a certain balance. Okay. That would be this. At the end of the month, my cash ledger is a certain balance. And this cash flow thing will show you how did I get from the beginning of the month cash to the end of the month cash? Where did money come in from? Where did money go out of? So obviously when money comes in, it's being added, but when money goes out, it's being subtracted. So that's really what cash flow is, just what it's used for. How did I get from what I had at the beginning to what I get to the end? Where did the money come in from and where did it go out to? Okay. So this is one slide that you absolutely would want to keep track of because it tells me inflows is money coming in, outflows is going out. So this is operating activities. The yellow one is an operating activity. Sale of products and providing services. So basically I'm selling a product or I'm providing you a service. I'm going to get money coming in. Both of these here usually involve accounts receivable, especially if I am selling on account, which I usually am in this textbook, okay? They also involve inventory. So cash going out when I purchase inventory, when I pay my employees, when I pay taxes. These are my day-to-day activities, okay? Also operating going out would be when I pay my accounts payable, people I owe money to. Okay. And on the other side, back on the cash inflow side, operating would be when my customers pay me. So that this chart really does help. And it's one of the few charts in here I'm going to tell about. Investing. Investing doesn't have anything to do with stock. It has to do with when I buy property, plant, and equipment, because I'm investing money into my business by buying new equipment that will generate me more revenue. Okay. So actually, let me say this again. When I'm selling this, when I'm selling my old property, plant, and equipment, I'm getting money in. But money going out is when I'm buying it, okay? Or instead of buying that, I might I might invest in some sort of investment in somebody else's company, not stocks, but a percent of their business. So investing, it has to do with buying and selling property, plant, and equipment, or purchasing investments and selling them. We're not talking stocks. And that's a whole nother uh, class, okay? When you're actually buying a percent of another company. Okay. Financing has to do with stocks, issuing stocks. Okay. So I get money in when I issue long-term liabilities, stocks and bonds, I should say. Okay. So if I issue bonds, that's under the financing activity. Issuing stock, I'm going to get money. So this is money coming in. When I pay dividends or when I pay back my bonds, that's money going out. These are under financing. So you just need to know what's under each category, because in your homework, in your homework, there's only 3 homework problems. There's going to be one for each of these categories. Okay, guys? So just this is an important slide that you would need. I'm just telling you. Okay. There's 2 different methods. One is called the direct method. One is called the indirect method. The most popular one is the indirect method. And I try to stick to activities on the indirect method. But I can't remember on the homework. I'm pretty sure that the exam questions are all the indirect method. Okay, so I'm not going to really cover the direct method. We're going to just glaze over it really quick. I have my timer watching too. Here's the direct method. It's very straightforward. So this is cash flows for operating activities. When customers pay me, I add it. When I pay for product, I subtract it. When I pay for operating expenses like rent, insurance, utilities, wages, I subtract. If I pay interest expense, I subtract. If I pay taxes, I subtract. And then my net is add this up and whatever you have. That's just kind of straightforward, direct. I know that's an easier way to do it, but most businesses do not use the direct method. Okay? Just straightforward. When the money comes in, and all of these are operating activities, day-to-day. Okay. Hold on. Let me go back. I clicked OK. Indirect method, it does it a little bit different. It actually looks at it starts with your net income. So this is important. Indirect method starts with your net income and then takes all the adjustments from your cash flow to figure out your net cash, because my net income is usually going to end up in some sort of cash. So this is the indirect method. And here's a little explanation. You see the direct method on the left, it's just straightforward. Okay, it talks about cash coming in, cash going out. But the indirect method doesn't actually measure the cash, it uses the increase in things or the decrease in things. For example, increase in accounts payable, $400. Well, why would that be actually money coming in? You want to ask yourself. If my accounts payable went up, that means I bought more product that's going to actually increase my cash when I sell it. I know that might not make sense, but that's how it goes. It gets down to each individual line, whereas the direct method just is general. I still end up with the same. I'm going to stop and ask, are there any questions? Pop it in the chat for me if there is. Some of you just put no if you don't have any. So remember, just which method are they asking you about? Most of the ones I'm going to use are indirect. Wait, hold on. Somebody popped in there. Okay. I get that, Weston. It's really a simple concept. It's about money. Everybody understands money. And you know when you get it, you know when you spend it. Okay, bear with me a second. My screen doesn't want to move. Sometimes my screen actually freezes, guys. Like now. Okay. Okay, so investing activities. Okay. Investing, remember, is when you buy material, you buy equipment. Remember that. Okay, I'm buying equipment or I'm selling equipment. That's straightforward. If you buy it, it costs money, you subtract it. If you sell your equipment, you're getting money. Straightforward. Okay. And then financing, this has to do with the stocks and the bonds. That's straightforward. When I get money, when I sell bonds, when I sell stocks, I get money. When I pay them back, when I pay the bond off, or when I pay dividends, I subtract money. Straightforward. Okay. So I'm going to show it to you. That's all we're going to do. And then I'll be done talking about this. Here are my 3 activities. Here's the format for the statement. And this is, I believe, the indirect method. So this is just statement of cash flows. So it breaks everything down. Operating activities. It didn't actually show. This actually might be the direct method, guys, because usually the other one will show everything exactly. Here's my operating activities. Oh, it does say exhibit 1. So there's another part to this. Here's my investing activities. Here's my financing. Then what is my net increase or decrease in my cash for the whole period? Okay. So whatever my net is it positive or negative? I look at what I start with at the beginning and what I end up with the end. And that's what my actual cash flow is. Give me a second, guys. Actually, that's actually it on the PowerPoint, I believe. Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing. I made it a short PowerPoint because it's just a really quick, that's just it. So all you need to know, that one slide that shows you the operating, the financing, the investing, what type of things fit in there, those are the things you just really need to know. And there's a page in the book in chapter 13 that breaks it down a little bit more, but that's really all you really need to understand that cash flow. Which category? And I can guarantee you those questions on the final exam, and you'll find it when you take the quiz. The quiz questions for this quiz for this week is only on chapter 13. They're a little bit more in depth. They may ask you to calculate things, but the questions on the exam are going to be straightforward. They're going to say which one of the here's what's happening, which one of these activities is this, and then you choose it. Okay. Let's see what time we're at. Hold on. Well, okay, I'm kind of done talking. That's what 13 is about. There isn't lecture videos, but it's short. I don't think you'll have a problem. Chapter 13 homework will be moved till Saturday night. Okay, so the rest of the time you should be working on that last project and thinking about taking the exam sometime next week. Questions about anything, please put them in the chat and I will read the question out loud. I won't mention who put it there, but if you put everyone, we all know who put it there. And I'll answer them. I'm waiting to see if anybody puts any questions in. So I had a question about the final exam is nothing more than a test also. So it doesn't carry a big weight on your overall grade. Hold on, I'm just typing in the chat. So it's just part of the test. And if I believe correctly, tests were 25% of the overall grade. So you could actually, first of all, if you don't take the final exam, to me that, and I in my syllabus, automatically you get a fail. And it's a shame for that to happen because you guys have worked very hard, very diligently to get through this quick 8 weeks. So take the exam, but you could actually not pass the exam and still pass the class based upon if you already have a decent grade. Okay. So just FYI on that one. Any other questions? Okay. I'm done talking. I think everything's graded up to date. I don't think I've graded the discussion board for last week. The only thing I was going to work on that today. But all your grade, first of all, also make sure that all your Canvas grades from Cengage are correct. Make sure that you didn't put, especially discussions, if you missed a discussion and you went back and put it in and I haven't updated it, let me know because sometimes they slip through my cracks. I will double check them, but check to make sure your Canvas grades are accurate. I do have a curve. Okay, I do have a curve. I don't bring it out until the very end because if I tell you I have a curve in the beginning, I don't think that people will actually try like they do. So there is a curve. You could still get an A at 87.5%. Okay, just FYI. And I rather round up than round down. Again, I will post a final letter grade in Canvas at the very end after everything's graded next Friday, to tell you this is what letter I'm submitting for you. So you already will know what will be submitted. And just because I put it there, it doesn't mean that it's in Web Advisor. I'm sorry, self-service now. It's not Web Advisor. It's not in there till I actually put it physically in there. And when I do, I will send an email saying grades have been posted in there. So you know I put the grade in. At this point, I'm going to open it up for any questions. And if you guys are done, you're welcome to drop off. I won't see you anymore. It's been a pleasure, but please feel free to utilize me for resources going forward. Unfortunately, I'm not teaching the 1B that starts after this one, but I might be teaching in spring the 1B, because I'm teaching the same class again in spring, and I might be doing the 1B there. They're not certain yet on that. Thank you.